Hey folks, it's Tim Newman with Soft Lite Studios, and it's time for another Adobe Photoshop CC quick tip. Hey, I got a question for you guys. Does this purple match that blue? Wardrobe? Okay, no, seriously. Have you ever found yourself in Photoshop working on a photograph or a document, and you find yourself trying to draw a diagonal line or layer some paint on in a diagonal fashion or in some direction on the screen that's just not compatible with the mouse or the trackpad that you're trying to use? You find that you just can't follow that line accurately enough. Well, the Rotate View tool is where you should go to solve this problem. Let's take a look. So the Rotate View tool in Photoshop is one of those hidden little gems that's actually been in Photoshop for a reasonably long period of time, but a fair number of Photoshop users either don't know that it's there or forget to use it, which is really too bad because it offers a really simple way to make drawing in Photoshop much simpler. Now, there are three ways that you can get to the Rotate View tool. The first one is to actually go over here to the toolbar, and you can see I'm hovering over the tool right there, and you get that little video pop-up, if you will, that shows you what the tool does. And of course, I can click on that, and then that becomes the active tool, and you see the Rotate View icon there in the middle of the screen. I'm going to go ahead and hit the V key to take me back to the Move tool and make that active. Second way to get to it is as simple as hitting the R shortcut key, which I just did there, and you see that once again the icon pops up showing you that the Rotate View tool is active. And then I'll hit the V key to go back to the Move tool. And the last way to activate the Rotate View tool is with a trackpad via a gesture, and that gesture involves using two fingers. I typically use the thumb and forefinger, placing them both on the trackpad at the same time, and then simply rotating them around one another. And as you continue to rotate them, the contents on the screen will rotate with the movement of that gesture. Now, so what I'm doing here is I'm just going to take this and kind of line it up right there. Now, what's really cool about the Rotate View operation is that it takes the screen and it rotates it in whichever direction you want it to go, and then it stays in that position. This is not editing or rotating the pixels in the image. This is simply rotating the view as we're seeing it right now. And then of course, in this orientation, what I'm getting ready to do in a second will be a lot easier than trying to draw it at a 45-degree angle. Now, I gave you three ways to get to the Rotate View tool. One is by clicking on the toolbar, which is our least favorite approach to doing the Rotate View because it requires us to drive the mouse all the way across the screen to get to it. The R key is a little bit more favorable because it's a little bit quicker, but the thing to note about the R key is that it does in fact change which tool is loaded. And the last one that I just showed you here, the actual rotating your fingers as a trackpad gesture, does the exact same thing as the Rotate View tool. In fact, it's calling that tool. But you'll notice if you look over in the toolbar here right now, even though I did rotate this view, the Move tool is still the active tool. So using the gesture is the ideal way to do it because you don't unselect a tool that you're already using. Okay, now just to show you what I had in mind here real quickly, I'm going to hit the B key to grab paintbrush, and I'm going to make my paintbrush just a little bit bigger with the right bracket key. I'm going to change my colors here, so I'm going to go over here to the color picker. I'm going to go ahead and use the eyedropper to select that as my starting color. I think maybe I'll go just a touch darker for this first layer. In the paintbrush tool, I've got my opacity knocked down a little bit. I've got my flow rate down to about half, and I've got the airbrush feature turned on. And I'm simply going to come over the top of this layer that we have here called a frisket. If you're an airbrush person, the frisket mask will make sense to you right away when you see it. If you're not, just kind of take a look at it. It's kind of a cool way of building yourself a quasi mask, if you will, to work with a regular mask and be able to see exactly where the paint that you're applying in this particular example for this effect is going. Us airbrush folks have been using this kind of technique for years. I'm just going to swipe a few diagonals across here. Of course, sticking with the point of the quick tip here, you can see that by rotating my template, my Frisket template here, that 45 or so degrees, that it becomes a lot easier for me to draw these straight lines that I want here. I'm just going to knock that brush size down a little bit and do another layer here with a little bit brighter orange. I'm going to kind of hit the same diagonals that I hit here. They're a little hard to see, but we'll kind of come across here. And then last but not least, I'm going to go back to the default colors, make white my foreground color, probably knock the opacity back just a little bit, and kind of one light layer across here. And again, that rotated view makes it real easy for me to get those straighter lines versus trying to draw them at a 45. So there we go. I got everything painted on there that I want to paint on there. I'm going to go ahead and enable this layer mask, which is going to knock out that Frisket and leave behind the area that's not masked out in the paint. That effect right there. Now that I'm all done with that and I had it rotated in a way that made it easy for me to paint it, I'm just going to hit the escape key. And the escape key is the last step in a rotated view. And it's going to take that Photoshop document, flip it back to the orientation that it was initially in, and now you can see the effect that I wanted to paint over the top of the image here. I might put some kind of shadow or border around it, kind of bump it up just a little bit to make it stick out, but that isn't the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video was just to show you that rotated view, how easily you could take the document and rotate a section in it in an orientation that you wanted to see it in, and then put it back when you were done. Well, there you have it, folks, the Rotate View tool in Photoshop. We hope you appreciate this quick tip, and hopefully it makes your editing in Photoshop just a little bit easier. We appreciate you tuning in. Remember to check that subscribe button down there at the bottom to get updates on new videos as they come to you here at Lite Studios. And remember, as we always say, learning equals skills, practice equals mastery. We'll see you out there.